My name is Stacy Lynne. I am from Larimer County, Colorado. My son Jaden is 9 years old. I have been Jaden's sole parent for his entire life until a judge in the 8th Judicial District brutally severed Jaden from his mom, his family, and his friends and his pets. The judge demanded immediate custody change from me to the biological father, who was absent for the majority of Jaden's life. Jaden had never spent a single night or a single half afternoon alone with this man. I have not been accused of, charged with, or convicted of any wrongdoing. The witnesses for the opposition testified as to my excellent skills as a mother, and Jaden is now suffering emotional and psychological abuse. He does not understand what has happened to him. We are not allowed to talk about what has happened to him in our supervised visits. I am allowed to see Jaden for 2 hours per week in a court-ordered center. Jaden is suffering a horrifying demise because he was brutally severed from his entire life. The 8th Judicial District in Larimer County, Colorado is committing continuous crimes against my son and me. I am being punished for my investigative journalism regarding corruption in local government, including the Justice Center in Fort Collins, Colorado. I am asking Congress and my state elected officials to investigate the child abuse and other crimes that are being committed by the elected officials and by the 8th Judicial District. This morning I spoke for 2 hours at a meeting in Jefferson County for the first time since my son was taken nearly a year ago. And I have nothing left to lose. They've taken everything from me, and I have decided to continue speaking as I had done before to help people learn about how to protect their children and their families from the corruption in the United States of America. The judge in this case is Judge Julie Kuntz-Field. She is a well-known expert nationally for her work on child abuse and domestic violence abuse. She has violated every single one of her written peer-reviewed articles in her judges' magazines. She is the judge in the famous Baby Miranda case, where she fought to return a baby to her mother after she had been illegally taken from her. It took her 12 days to get this child returned, and Judge Julie Kuntz-Field has committed the exact same crimes as the judge that she fought early in her career. You can find a lot of information on Judge Julie Kuntz-Field by Googling her name, and you will also find her under the Baby Miranda story. She knows what she is doing in this case. She understands the child abuse and the domestic abuse that has been well documented in the court record, and she is intentionally retaliating against me for my research and my discoveries in the judicial system.
In doing the research that you've done, you've seen a lot of other stories.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
The other stories with the other moms?
Yeah, just the magnitude of it, just how it's impressed you or unimpressed you or struck you.
Mm-hmm. Would you like me to say that on the record?
We will.
So when I was drawn into the family court system almost 2 years ago, I was not able to get an attorney. I know that's hard to believe, but because of my political research and my investigative work, most of the attorneys were not interested in representing me. I was on a crash course to learn about the law and quickly discovered that this family court system is not based on the law. They're handled largely by magistrates, and magistrates are not bound by the same rules and procedures as judges. So during my research, I discovered that there were many other moms and dads who were innocent of any wrongdoing, but they were losing their children to usually the parent who was abusing them either sexually or physically or emotionally. And so I was curious about why that was happening. I started to research child protective services, specifically guardians ad litem. There is a guardian ad litem in Larimer County who has a questionable history with children, and he continues to act as a guardian on behalf of these children that he has hurt. So the investigative work helped me meet other moms, specifically who had been through this for years. I met a mother recently who has not seen her daughter for 16 years, and she was still ordered to pay child support. She's not able to do that because she's lost everything in her quest to save her child. A lot of times what happens is these women are already at a disadvantage because they have been left or abused, and they have no money to fight the system. The system uses that against them by saying that they don't even care enough to pay child support to see their child, and that they don't care enough to pay the $100 per hour to see their child. And that's one way the system works against these good moms, especially. There are hundreds of people in Larimer County alone who have lost their children to the abusers or to the state. And when you ask for the findings of fact and the conclusions based on law, there are none. These procedures are done administratively, which means that there are not even any rules to govern these types of cases. Judge Julie Kuntz Field, law clerk, actually is on record stating that there are no rules that govern family law procedures. And that was news to him when I had walked up to the counter to ask him what the hearing would be governed by. He thought he knew where the answer was online, and of course he found out there was no such rules for this proceeding.
Now, who is this? You asked?
Judge Julie Kuntz Field, clerk, law clerk.
Oh, okay, clerk.
His name is Sean Slagle, and he is no longer her clerk. I'd like to read a letter that I wrote to my family and friends. I'm blessed to have a very large support group across the United States, and that is due to my previous 5 years of investigating local government corruption throughout the United States. And I'd like to share that letter with you. I sit here today and struggle to continue moving forward. I am here for all the children who are in the same position as my son. Even though I have been focused on staying strong physically, mentally, and emotionally, so that Jaden will come home to strength and peace, my body is weary. And so, as I have done for the past year, I reach out to you to give you my gratitude. When I recognize and talk to you about the grace and mercy you have shown to us, I am filled with gratitude and I am renewed and strengthened. Thank you for listening. Our world exploded on December 21st, 2012, 297 days ago, nearly 1 year. The change in the seasons is stirring up the grief anew, and it is causing me to relive the most horrifying traumas of my life and Jaden's life. The worst part is that our healthy rhythms are still on hold. Jaden has spent most of the past 10 months isolated from his family and friends. He has not been in his own home since April 29, 2012, 195 days. The public servants in Larimer County continue to cover their crimes against Jaden and me by committing more crimes. If you haven't seen it with your own eyes, you will not believe it. Since August, Judge Julie Kuntz Field, Deputy Ryan Berg, and the opposing counsel have all issued written documents that directly incriminate the others of lying in those same written documents. They can't even keep their lies straight. I see Jaden once per week for 2 hours in a small windowless room with walls that are painted pale, asylum green. The only thing on the walls in that twisted room is a video camera that records every breath taken by me and my suffering child. Jaden's physical appearance is telling. He is exhausted. His skin is gray. His eyes are dark and deeply saddened. He is skin and bones. And we laugh together. We remember our life before. Jaden tries to connect in the safest way he is able. He is emotionally and mentally starving for his mom and his family, and he knows the truth. Judge Field held a hearing with the opposing attorney. They both said I declined to participate, even though I had no knowledge of the hearing and was not notified of the hearing. Deputy Ryan Berg said that Julie Field wasn't even at the courthouse when the hearing was supposedly held. Makes one wonder why they are lying so blatantly. The provable and simple truth is that I was not notified of the hearing and was not given the chance to be there. I don't even know if a hearing actually occurred, but I do know that Julie Field issued an order based on that supposed hearing. I have been intentionally searching for inspiration and have found it in the most unusual places. Today I was looking through an architecture book that Jaden loves to browse through and found this quote. "I find myself drawn to explore what I call the void, the presence of an overwhelming emptiness created when a community is wiped out or individual freedom is stamped out, when the continuity of life is so brutally disrupted that the structure of life is forever torqued and transformed. Forever torqued and transformed, my heart, mind, and body, and Jaden's heart, mind, and body are suffering traumas unimaginable. Jaden will heal, and I will heal. Your support is priceless. Thank you." So in April, I had noticed a lot of law enforcement following me around. I thought it was just part of my job still. I had been followed for a very long time prior to my son being taken. But I noticed an increase in the number. A friend of mine suggested that I was actually being tracked. And so we crawled under my car on May 4th, I believe, of 2012. And sure enough, we found a GPS tracking device. We took it to the Weld County Sheriff's Office because I am presently suing the Larimer County Sheriff's Office for my illegal arrest and unlawful jailing. The Weld County Sheriff's Office traced it, the serial numbers, and indeed it was placed by the Larimer County Sheriff's Office without a warrant. They had been following me for 5 months secretly with plainclothes officers and uniformed officers. They were attempting to retrieve the GPS tracking device because they did not have a warrant and could not obtain the warrant legally. So they were trying to sneak the device off of my car. However, I have a habit of parking in private parking lots or around surveillance cameras for this very reason. Because of my job, I understand how to do certain things for safety. So they did admit that they were following me illegally for 5 months without the warrant, and that the sheriff claimed to not want to cause me any further distress, and so he was sneaking around to take the device without my knowledge. In August of last year, I was attending a hearing to observe another man going through a similar situation. I was told to leave the courtroom because I was disrupting it. Of course, I wasn't. They just didn't want me to witness what they were doing to this man and his daughter. As I left the courtroom, I went to Judicial Administration to ask if there was a way for this man to get some assistance, and I was surrounded by 3 Larimer County deputies officers. They would not tell me why they were there. They would not tell me what they were doing, but for 13 minutes they did stand, one in front, one behind, and one on my side. Of course, they were heavily armed, and I was not. I did call the sheriff during that time to get the entire incident on the record, and the sheriff's secretary suggested that I leave the building and walk through the officers. So there is a massive amount of aggravated intimidation and harassment occurring in my case, truly out of political retaliation for the discoveries I have made into the corruption in the family court system and local governments in Colorado. One of the main reasons that I was targeted and that my child is being used as a weapon against himself and me is, as I was researching ways to protect Jaden from being ripped from his life, I had questions about jurisdiction. I was never married to the biological father. He was not involved in our lives. He actually stated that he did not want to be present in my son's life before he was even born. So I was looking at jurisdiction issues. I asked approximately 30 attorneys how Larimer County had jurisdiction over me and my son since we were innocent of everything. That led me to discover a judicial forum. It is in Colorado, Judicial Forum number 405. It is called a consent to assignment to a magistrate. If you fill that form out, then you are guaranteed by law to have a judge hear your case. And the reason that magistrates hear cases in family court throughout the United States is the sheer number of cases. Magistrates are not bound by the Constitution or by any rules or proceedings. They're allowed to make up the rules as they go, and everybody who hears this knows it's true. They've experienced it themselves. You never know what to expect from one minute to the next in a magistrate's courtroom. I did present JDF 405 at the beginning of Jaden's case. It was ignored wholly until November 15th, 2011, when I was given a judge at the end of the process. The way we know that JDF 405 does work is since then I've been helping people understand the form exists and ask them to research it on their own. They have filed it, it has been accepted, and they are getting judges to hear their family cases. The reason they don't want me to educate people about this form is it will collapse the system. If you present a non-consent to magistrate at the beginning of your case, family law case, you are required by law to have a judge hear your entire case. If everybody would do that, everybody non-consent to a magistrate, the system will come crashing down. There are not enough judges to handle family court cases. I encourage everybody to research that in your own state and your own county. On September 13th of 2012, I did have a hearing that was supposed to be